Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Get Deeper podcast. If you are joining for the first time, welcome. And if you are an existing listener or watcher of the YouTube channel, welcome back. Love you guys. So for those who already know, this is like a one-take, raw, unfiltered style podcast where I literally will just brain dump and chat about the ins and outs of what I'm navigating in my life. Also hoping that something lands and is valuable to you guys as well. And it's also a little opportunity for you to get to know me more behind the scenes of like my bodybuilding journey as well. So this episode I'm really excited about because it is a Valentine's Day special, and anybody who knows me knows that I am a lover girl through and through. February is my favorite month because Valentine's Day, it's also my birthday month, and there's an added bonus this year where it's like the first time I'm competing as a pro and I make my pro debut. So heading into this episode, I feel like it's important to talk about the fact that self-love is just as important, if not like the most important thing in navigating big goals, in navigating relationships, in navigating your entire life, I believe. So this episode can relate to athletes. It can relate to people outside of bodybuilding. You do not have to be a bodybuilder to understand and apply what I'm talking about here. But I sort of will be talking about it in relating it to my journey in bodybuilding and also goals, like the striving and stuff. So the core message of this is also around discipline. And I feel like discipline has so many different connotations and at some points has lost its touch with how I interpret discipline to be, because it truly is self-love when it's rooted in self-respect. So yeah, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, I've got notes on my phone today. I don't have my laptop with me. It's upstairs charging, but I thought before we get into the episode, there's a little life update. So if you don't want to listen to that, skip to the part. I'll have chapters in where I talk about all of the things of this actual episode. But as a life update, it's currently the 28th of January as I'm filming. I am running my second high carb day of 3 for the first time in this prep, which is exciting. I unfortunately yesterday I was like super tired, and I was like, why am I feeling so tired when I have a high carb day and like 700 extra more calories than normal, when normally I'm like charged and I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I actually thought maybe it's about the fact that on high carb days, like the protocol is dramatically decrease outputs, so no cardio, reduced steps. And I was like, oh, maybe my body's just shifted gears and thought like it's a rest day and thought we're in relaxation mode. Woke up today, whoo boy, it was not in relaxation mode. I was just like, I have a little tummy bug, so I'm hoping I can get through this episode. When I said it's raw and unfiltered, I'm being so real and raw with you guys, so you're welcome. Aside from that, there's not that much happening in life other than I've got all of my beautiful girls group all together back in Bali again, because we all sort of like spread out over Christmas. So I'm going to go see them soon, and that's going to be fun. We'll all catch up. You'll be able to see that in a YouTube vlog if you head over to the YouTube. But yeah, that's really all that's happening in life. Like we have 4 weeks and 3 days or something to go until the pro debut. And everything's been quite routine. I'm feeling happy that we're ready early. But yeah, unfortunately, tummy bug is not ideal for a mock carb up, like peak week style, but we move. We can't really do anything about it. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the episode now that you know about the tragedy that is my unfortunate bowel movements. Oh gosh. So I feel like the reason that I really love prep is because it has given me permission like nothing else to devote time, energy, money into myself And it also strips everything back. Like prep will strip you raw of like, it really shows you how much you respect yourself, because it makes it very concrete, how you show up for yourself in the times where maybe other people don't understand you, how you show up for yourself in the times where, you know, it's easy to skip out on certain things. But if you have a certain goal that you're working towards, like a show or a date, and you hold strong to it, I feel like prep is one of those things that can really amplify your self-love, because it's something that you wake up every day and you're choosing yourself, you are choosing your goals, you are choosing, like it's very sort of indicative of your level of self-love and also your mental strength and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I feel like the level of self-love that you have when you're conducting yourself throughout a bodybuilding prep shows up in how consistent you are, how you talk to yourself in the days that are tough, how you talk to yourself in the days that are easy. Whether you cut corners, whether you stay aligned, whether you lie to yourself, whether you keep the promises to yourself. And yeah, at times, sometimes it's easier to avoid certain things or to skip out on certain things. I think it's difficult at times to know, is this a self-loving act or is this me compromising my goals? And I want to talk about the balance between both. But essentially, it's my opinion that discipline and self-respect go hand in hand. And discipline is sort of like an act of self-respect in my eyes. I think that what I said in the intro about discipline sometimes being misconstrued to be like, dig your heels in and don't stop for anything. And while I love like that motivational kind of take on things, I think that discipline can hold a bit of, I've said this before, it can hold a bit of like military vibe to it. But the way that I see discipline is more of like a self-devotion and self-respect thing. So it's like I said, keeping promises to yourself. It's in showing up when no one is watching. It's in like doing the things that you told yourself you would do, not because it's like, oh, I don't want to disappoint myself. Like it's also the energy behind it, not about being like, oh, I'm going to hate myself if I don't do this, but more, I want to do this because I love myself and I respect myself, and I want to show myself that I've made this promise and I want to keep it. And treating yourself as someone who you love. Like if you made a promise to a loved one, your mum, your best friend, your partner, you want to keep that promise, not out of obligation, but because you love them. Well, maybe it is out of obligation too, but it's also a sense of like, you love them, so you want to keep that promise. And I feel like doing the boring things as well with an underlying sense of love and presence is really important in navigating like prep, navigating any challenge or goal that you're wanting to work towards with love. Because often when there are big goals that we are chasing, or when we're working towards something, we can be so tunnel visioned on the end point and get so caught up in like the end point rather than actually being present and enjoying and loving the process and learning to love ourselves more through the process as well. Because if there's lots to do, especially in prep, there can be times where it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't know where my feet are. But it's in those moments where it's like, okay, how can you speak to yourself in a way that shows your self-love and in a way that nourishes yourself, doesn't judge yourself. And essentially, I feel like the way that you embody love and the way that you talk about yourself and to yourself and the way you think about yourself, the way you think, the thoughts that you allow to be in your head, because at the end of the day, thoughts will pop up, some good, some bad, and it's not about control, it's about noticing things, letting them pass. But where there's opportunity for you to nourish yourself with like nice, loving thoughts, how often do you do that, and how can you do that more? Because I do feel like our ability to love other people and pour love and kindness and goodness into the world is completely dictated by the amount of love that we have for ourselves. And I think that self-love is something that has also, in a sense, been misconstrued in society. We get it wrong sometimes, and we think it's about the external things. We think it's about the pretty routines. And while routines can help, because that's a sense of, like what I spoke about in the last episode, it is a sense of devotion and saying to yourself, like, I'm dedicating this time to myself. But it's also, self-love is more than just that. Self-love is more than just what you look like. It's not about like puffing your chest out and being like, I'm the best in the room. It's more about in the quiet things, like how are you, do you listen to yourself? And when tough things pop up, how do you go about that? I wrote down a little line here, and I kind of want to expand on it. And it is that if I didn't love myself, I wouldn't ask this much of myself. And that's in relation to prep, that's in relation to goals. I think that often, for me personally, I know I can get very hard on myself at times when I'm like, oh, I know I'm asking this of myself because I love myself and because I know that I can do X, Y, Z to a high standard. But there is a balance to that. There is also a balance of like, you believe in yourself and you do a bunch of stuff because you know that you can achieve it, but what's the energy that you're carrying behind it? Which leads me sort of to when discipline, which I believe, like I said, is a form of self-love, turns into self-rejection, and where discipline turns into sort of like that hard-ass kind of ignoring yourself, or even turning into punishment. I'm in a place now where in my prep, I'm being told to pull back and relax a bit more, because it's like, okay, the hard work is done for the fit model category. We don't want, I've been told, like, Scott's like, we don't want you too conditioned. You can stop digging. And there is a different sort of challenge in that than what there is in the grind. I feel very comfortable in the grind because I'm like, yep, ticking boxes, bang, bang, bang. But when it, and it's like that discipline thing, but there is a point, and discipline, like I said, can sort of turn into punishment or like self-rejection if you end up overdoing it. And so I've sort of noticed in myself that the grind and the hustle and wanting the struggle has sort of come from a place of me wanting to prove things to myself without realizing that, hey, actually I should know that I am deserving of my own love and deserving of my own, acknowledgement, even if I'm not digging my heels in and struggling. Because being hardcore, I've realized, is actually sometimes less about self-love, devotion, and all of the things that we can mask it to be, and more about control, or more about, self-worth tied to external achievements. And I think that there is a large difference between earning results and chasing validation. And that's why it's so important to sort of like get clear on your purpose for doing things. Understand when you make a promise to yourself, what is this promise and where is it coming from? And is it coming from a place of like wanting to prove yourself to yourself, or is it coming from a place of inspiration and being like, I'm curious about like what could happen here, and doing it for the process, because it can start as one and then go into the other, which is great. But it can also be a slippery slope on the other side of things. And at the end of the day, it's our responsibility as human beings with beautiful minds and the ability to think clearly to be able to notice when we're operating from a place of like hardcore discipline, military vibe, and when we're operating from a place of the discipline that is like built on self-love, built on inspiration, built on curiosity, all of these things that actually nourish us and pour more goodness into the world and into ourselves as well. And I feel like Valentine's Day, I know that I've probably gone like all around the place with this episode, but I feel like Valentine's Day, this being a Valentine's Day special, I want to note as well that romantic love is so sought after in society, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's beautiful because that's what we want. Human beings, like, we're built for connection. We are built for love. But to go back to what I was saying outside of the prep stuff about the fact that you can only love another person as deeply as you love yourself, that means that we get the really cool, ever evolving, never ending never ending sort of like task of loving ourselves every single day. And something that I've been doing recently, I've been reading a book actually about, it's not about self-love, but they talk a lot about self-love. They've spoken about like childhood stuff, everything. And I'm a fiend for all the books. But in this book, since reading it, I've been like, I am starting to ask myself every day now, if there was another version of me, a child version of me, what would I be saying to her right now? And what thoughts as my adult human being have I carried from that past little version of me that aren't so loving, that maybe I've thought to myself as a result of my upbringing, or that I've been told from my parents as a kid that I haven't let go of. And it's in the practice for me, both in prep and in little moments and just like in life in general, it's in the practice of asking myself, how can I love myself more in this moment? And sometimes that looks like relaxing. Sometimes that looks like taking a deep breath. Sometimes that looks like getting up, keeping a promise to myself, and then being like so happy afterwards, being like, yes, I did that for myself, and I finished this task, or I did the cardio, or I did... I feel like all I'm thinking about is prep stuff, but you get what I mean. It's about leaning more into love and leaning more into softness while being able to balance the goals as well. And just to speak quickly on what I was saying about balancing the two between like devotion and discipline and like running yourself into the ground, I think that the number one thing that you can do to understand what place it's coming from is to check yourself. Like in the moments where you're at a crossroads and you could go either here or you could go there, whether it's a decision to like go to the gym or not go to the gym, or whether it's a decision to go on the date or not go on the date, or a decision for anything, it can be anything. Think to yourself, what's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? And be so honest, because lying to yourself as well is not an act of self-love. And you do know, I feel like we can tell, you can feel it in your body when you're lying to yourself, when you're not being truthful with yourself. Sometimes you genuinely do need to pull back. Sometimes you genuinely do need to rest. Sometimes you need to go, to move. You need to show yourself that you're awesome and you can do stuff. Go dance in the rain or something. I don't know. I feel like I have rambled and rambled and rambled, but and apologies for that. I feel like I definitely can blame prep brain at this point now. I've forgotten many things over the past few days, but essentially the crux of this episode that I want to leave you with is that discipline is freedom, in that when you operate from a place of self-devoted discipline, you feel liberated to, like, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you put your mind to when you're operating from a place of that, like, that devotion and that self-love and that curiosity and that inspiration, you have so much strength behind you. Whereas if you're operating from that place of discipline where it's like obligation, I have to do this, I want to prove people wrong, I want to prove myself wrong. Notice how that feels in your body compared to how the other one feels. The other main point that I want to leave you with is that your ability, like I've said throughout the episode, your ability to love anything you do, anyone you interact with, and your ability to pour love into the world is solely dictated by the way that you love and speak to yourself and think about yourself. So, heading into this month, ask yourself, what can you do? What can you start implementing daily, or what can you start taking away daily in your life that is a nourishing and self-loving act or thing? For me, for example, I have reminders that pop up on my phone every day. And the first reminder is a question, and I will show you. The first reminder is a question. It pops up at 7:15 a.m. and I ask myself, how do I want to feel today? And you don't have to do this, but this for me sort of like it reminds me that, hey, I get to choose this. Whatever happens within my day might be out of my control, but I get to choose how do I want to feel at the end of today. The next reminder that pops up on my phone is a 3 p.m. reminder, and it's just a little thing to stretch, take 3 deep breaths, and in brackets I've written, you have time, because I know for me, I'm always like, I find it quite easy to like be going and get to the end of the day and be like, oh my gosh, I've not actually stopped. So for me, that is a self-loving act, allowing myself just a second to be like, oh wait, yeah, I can breathe, I can chill. I have time. Everything's going to get done, especially in prep, because you have so many boxes to tick. But now that my outputs are cut, it's kind of like I have a bit more time. So yeah, ask yourself those questions, not necessarily mine, but ask yourself the question, how can I start implementing or take away things daily that nourish myself and that are self-loving acts or self-loving things. Start implementing routines. I have like my everything shower routine every Wednesday and every Sunday, where it's like that afternoon is blocked out. I will light candles, I'll light incense, I'll like do the everything shower. I'll lotion up, exfoliate, shave, the whole thing. And yeah, that's like a little added thing, but self-love and self-respect and discipline and devotion are also in the really small and quiet and mundane and gentle, consistent daily things in how you talk to yourself and how you speak to others. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope that for the remainder of this month, you learn to lean more into love, and you learn to uncover a little bit more self-love in yourself. I love you so, so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to my little brain dump. I don't know if they'll get more erratic as we get further ahead and closer to the show, but I'm gonna love myself through it anyway. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.